Islander fans are absolutely buzzing over this, as the NHL 2025 Draft Combine has commenced, and the Islanders are the star of the show as they hold the first overall pick, and therefore they can choose whoever they feel is the best prospect in this draft. And fans have a lot of different opinions when it comes to who that prospect is. Let me know in the comments who you want to see the Islanders draft first overall. Really quickly, before we get into the video, we noticed that 74% of you who watch these videos have not yet subscribed to the channel. So if you're an Islander fan, you want more Islanders content just like this, what are you waiting for? Subscribe to the channel. Our goal is 1,000 subscribers before the NHL draft. So if you haven't already, subscribe to this Islanders community, and let's really talk about what's going on at this draft combine. The draft combine is really exciting. It's a chance for teams to really meet with these players and also compare them physically as they take on different strength challenges, as we're going to talk about a little later in this video. But the most important thing for the Islanders is who they're meeting with, and the Islanders have already met with Matthew Schaefer, who is projected as of right now to go first overall. They had him for dinner, and then they also met with him the following day for a formal interview. They're also expected to take Michael Misa out for dinner and James Hagens, and this is pretty standard when it comes to having a high draft pick. You really want to meet with the player that you're considering drafting to know if it's a right fit and really get a better feel for who they are off the ice. And it's going to be really interesting to see how these interviews go. From the sounds of it, Schaefer is a really stand-up guy. We're going to talk about a little later in this video. There's some really interesting things when it comes to what he's doing around this combine that really grabbed my attention and really shows a testament to what type of character he is off the ice, which makes it even more exciting if the Islanders do draft him. And in addition to this, there's also a lot of due diligence for the Islanders to do when it comes to later on in the draft, as we've been talking about on this channel so much about the first round, particularly the first overall pick. But in reality, the Islanders have all their picks in this draft, including the second round pick, which is 42nd overall. And especially in a draft like this where there is a lot of parity, there's a good chance a good player slips down in this draft. Or there's also a really good chance that perhaps the Islanders see a player that they really like that is slipping, and perhaps they move back into the first round, which would really make the Islanders draft party even more exciting if the Islanders found a way to get back into the first round. I'm not really talking about in this sense them getting a first overall pick and like a fourth overall pick. That would be absolutely electric if they found a way to really bring in Schaefer and Hagens. I know a lot of Islander fans want to see that. Realistically, that probably is not going to happen, but it is really realistic that they can trade back into the later part of this first round. Also, I'd love to know in the comments if you've ever been to an Islanders draft party. What do you think of it? This is definitely going to be the most exciting one that there's been in a long time. A lot of hype over Matthew Schaefer or Michael Misa or James Hagens. I think that's part of what makes this even more exciting. While there is a lot of consensus when it comes to draft board, there's still a lot of discussions when it comes to who the Islanders should be drafting. And speaking of the draft boards, Elite Prospects has dropped a lot of their superlatives for some of these players. We're going to really go through some of them because I think they really make me even more excited about really two of the players the Islanders have the opportunity to draft. James Hagens does get featured in a couple of the superlatives, but the names that really seem to be showing up in almost every single one is Matthew Schaefer and Michael Misa. Matthew Schaefer really seems to be first or second overall in so many categories. Best straight line skater, Matthew Schaefer is second, Michael Misa is fourth, and James Hagens is fifth. So one thing that really excites me is all three players that are really being considered to be drafted first overall by the New York Islanders are really good skaters, which is exactly what you want to see. I honestly think when it comes to drafting a prospect, one of the biggest things that holds them back is skating, and the fact that all these players are already incredible skaters is really encouraging. And going to best four-way mobility, it's even more exciting for Schaefer, who is ranked first overall when it comes to best four-way mobility, which is really essential for an elite defenseman. It's exactly what you want to see as an Islander fan. Best motor, Schaefer also was ranked in fifth place. Michael Misa actually was considered to be the third best motor, which is really interesting. And the two categories that I really find the most interesting for the New York Islanders are highest ceiling and lowest ceiling. And for highest ceiling, you have James Hagens at fifth overall, which is just very impressive. But it's also one of the big reasons why perhaps he should not be the first overall pick, because there simply are other players with higher ceilings. And Matthew Schaefer is ranked number one with the high ceiling. That really doesn't shock me at all. What actually does surprise me a little bit is Michael Misa is put 4 here. I do feel like he has a higher ceiling. especially than Porter Martone. I do understand Roger McQueen is an interesting case where he was injured this entire draft year, and now he's giving an encouraging update on his back. Roger McQueen is actually a player we were going to talk about a lot when the Islanders had 10th overall pick, or we're expecting they're going to be from the 10th to 12th range. But now that they're first overall, there's really no reason to even talk about Roger McQueen, although he does have one of the best names out of any prospect. What's interesting when it comes to highest floor, though, is Michael Misa is considered to have the highest floor, which is definitely something that's exciting when it comes to this player and the way scouts view him. Schaefer has the second highest floor, which for me, the fact that Schaefer is considered to have the highest ceiling and the second highest floor, he definitely seems like the player who I think the Islanders should be drafting. Although Misa is definitely making an interesting case. Schaefer was also ranked the #1 offensive defenseman. And I will note this was taken from a post that was really focused on Schaefer. So Misa also ranked really well when it came to some of the forward rankings. But really quickly, Schaefer was also ranked the #1 best puck moving defenseman, which is something the Islanders desperately need. And he was ranked third as the best neutral zone defender. So on top of being a really strong defenseman offensively and having a really high offensive ceiling, Schaefer is also a defenseman who's really considered to be strong all-rounded. And one thing I do want to note is while in terms of the offensive production, sample size is small for Schaefer just because he had his offensive explosion this season, where he was only able to play 19 games, 17 games in the OHL, 2 games before he got injured playing for Canada in the U20s. But in terms of that defensive ceiling, that has been showcased all last season, and he was pretty dominant defensive all that year. So there's a lot larger of a sample size when it comes to what Schaefer has done defensively, just because he was playing really strong defensively all that year. And really, that's why he was originally in the top 5 of this draft, because of his defensive play. And really why he skyrocketed to first overall was that he then showed in his limited sample size this season that he also had that offensive flair. Talking more about Schaefer and why I really think this is going well for him in terms of everything that's coming around the Combine is before the Combine, he actually took some time to go visit children at a children's hospital. Schaefer has one of the tougher stories when it comes to the NHL draft, and that he lost his mother this year, and also lost the mother that he was staying with during juniors. They stay in like host families, and he also lost his host family's mother. So it was a really tough year for Schaefer. And one thing he's talking about in a lot of interviews is how he's really overcome different obstacles, and how compared to losing these figures in his life, injuring his shoulder really was not a concern. And also an update on Schaefer's shoulder. He will be participating in all the events for the draft combine except for pull-ups, and also he will not be bench pressing, although he is almost fully cleared. His doctors thought it would be probably good for him to spend a little more time away rather than rushing into those things. Although Schaefer was cleared to play hockey, so I don't think there really are many concerns when it comes to whether or not Schaefer will be healthy. The question more is, with that smaller sample size, do you go with someone like him who showed higher potential, or someone like Misa, which, as we showed in the combine rankings, who is considered to have one of the highest floors, and therefore perhaps you say there is less risk, although Schaefer was still considered to have the second highest floor, which really makes that option really not seem to matter in terms of the Islanders. One big thing we do have to talk about is what is next for these prospects. And this is perhaps the most exciting step of what's going to happen next. I know a lot of Islander fans want to see whoever they draft in the NHL next season, but realistically, it probably is not the best decision, especially when it comes to Schaefer, especially considering how much time he missed. But now, due to the new rules, Schaefer can participate in the NCAA rather than going back to juniors. And this is definitely really exciting, as Stefan Rosner has tweeted out. If Schaefer does go to play in the NCAA, it could be huge for his development and really allow him to take an even bigger step, playing with better competition. That's really the one thing that Hagens does have under his belt compared to these other prospects. We've already seen him play with bigger, stronger competition. The only flaw in James Hagens' game, and really why he kind of slipped, is he struggled with that bigger, stronger competition, which is really hurting his case in terms of being the top prospect overall. Although I do think, especially considering the Islanders are having a dinner with him, they're definitely considering him. He definitely isn't completely out of the race, although he is not the favorite. Another player who actually is considering playing college hockey is Michael Misa, who there are some rumors will be playing for BU, which actually makes this a little more interesting for the New York Islanders, as Cole Eiserman is currently playing at BU. And potential prospect of Misa going to BU and really having the chance to play with Cole Eiserman a season before coming to the Islanders definitely could that make that decision a bit more interesting for the Islanders, as you really have a chance to see them develop together. Although I do still think that Schaefer is the best selection at first overall, but this could be really exciting, and at the worst, it could probably show Islander fans, if they do pick Schaefer, what they potentially will be missing out, which definitely will be hard to watch if Misa has a hugely dominant season in the NCAA. Although I do think Schaefer, if he does decide to play in the NCAA after being drafted first overall, is going to have an absolutely dominant season and really show why he deserves to be the first overall pick. Also, quickly noting, because the Islanders might potentially struggle next season, Gavin McKenna is also considering playing college, and really it would be incredible to see if he can really tear it up and affirm himself in next year's draft as the first overall pick. The Islanders would be beyond lucky if they have another first overall pick next season, especially considering Gavin McKenna is available. Let me know what you think about all this in the comments below. Who do you think the Islanders should draft, and has the draft combine really changed your opinion about any of these players? It's really interesting to see how a lot of times some opinions about these players kind of change when they kind of show a bit of their personality to the media and really show teams a little bit more about what makes them tick. I'd love to know your thoughts about that in the comments below. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the channel. My name is Patrick Nilan. This is Islanders Digest. Let's go Islanders.